scrimmage today with an 8-3 from the corner?
Oh, yeah, he did. It's nice. He's been shooting it well.
Steve was saying yesterday he wants you guys to get a ton of threes. And, with Klay gone, it's kind of by committee. But, I mean, how are you seeing how this style of play is shifting?
It has to shift. When you lose someone like Klay, what that does to your offensive spacing, it changes a lot, when he's not out there. So, it's just got to look a little different, with the personnel. But, the principles will remain the same.
Do you like the scrappiness that seems to be on the team?
Definitely. I think it changes up what teams kind of have seen from us for so many years. It's a different look, so it'll be good for us.
Is it at all weird to know that Klay and Kyrie, after doing battle for so many years, are like, the best friend?
Yeah, but they've always been friends, though. So, I think when you know the personal relationship off the floor already, it kind of hits a little different for us, well, for me at least, because I know, how close those guys have been for all these years, So you go to battle with a guy on the court, and unfortunately for the world, they like us to hate each other, which is very rarely the case, So those guys have always had a personal relationship, so, I think it'll be a great thing.
About matching up with a dude in the finals, you get to know him.
Well, for sure. You know the ins and outs of a guy when you match up with him in the finals. And obviously with Kai, I think we played Kai in the finals, 3 times. So, there's definitely a familiarity there. But, both of those guys are, 6 years removed from that matchup? It's like an eternity ago. So, 7 years, whatever it is. So, it's an eternity. It's a long time ago. Long time.
These two guys aren't the same player at all, but can you use Buddy in a similar way that Klay was kind of instilled?
You got to use Buddy for what, I think they both can shoot the ball, but Buddy's a different type of shooter. Buddy is a little more on the move than Klay, when it comes to shooting. Obviously, Klay can shoot on the move, of course. But Buddy moves around a little bit more. Buddy moves around more like Steph, if that makes sense. Than Klay, but, from floor spacing standpoint, you obviously, that's part of the fit. You hope that he can replace some of that of what Klay does.
Does Kuminga look like he added some stuff this summer?
When you come into camp, when you try to come into camp and show what you added, it's going to be awful. So I think he's doing a great job of just playing within the system, kind of finding his spots. As camp settles down, you settle into camp and, you start to play preseason games, then all of that stuff starts to happen. But you come into training camp trying to show what you worked on, it never goes well.
I guess one of the questions, as Steve kind of tries to figure out all these combinations is how much small forward can he play? And that kind of bumps you either up or down. How do you view, his ability to play small forward and maybe playing lineups where it's him at the 3, you at the 4 in a second?
I think he's a 3. It's always been my opinion. That's going to change. That's not going to change. I think, to play the 4, it requires a certain skill set. So oftentimes people approach the 4 as if it's not a position and think I can just move a guy there. No, it's a position that you have to know how to play. It's like, you never hear. You don't think anybody can play point guard. The 4 is the same thing, It requires a certain skill set, a certain knowledge, a certain understanding of that position to do that. He's never done that, So can he adjust and learn that? I don't know. Can a receiver learn how to be a quarterback in 2 years? So, my eyes here 3.
Right. So is that type of nuance you think that's lost in all of positionless basketball?
100%. And that's why you've seen teams lose to us. year after year because so many teams like, oh man, that guy's Draymond size or he's bigger. So he can go do that. And no, he can't. And it has nothing to do with how good or not I am. I just know how to play that position. I know how to play the 5. Like, I didn't just end up being able to slide to the 5. Growing up, I played the 5 defensively and I played point guard offensively. So I know how to do that. But if I didn't do that growing up, I wouldn't just know how to do that. So for years, you've seen teams take a guy that's a certain height and be like, all right, we're going to put him at the 5. And then we get layup, 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 layup. And then they come down and they're shooting bad jump shots. But I know how to protect the rim. So, yes, I think that is a part of what gets lost. You know, Kevin Durant is 7 feet. He's not a 5. Couldn't play the 5 if you wanted him to, because he don't know how. And that's no shot at Kevin Durant, but he's 5-man size, right? Height, but he's not a 5. And if you try to put him at the 5, he's gonna look at you like he's crazy. You put him at shooting guard before you put him at the 5. Like, his skill set matches that more than it matches the 5. But, you know, around this league, you know, not just here, like around the league, you see that happen all the time. And I just don't think I think that's why you see those lineups for people fail so often. Because you have to know how to do it. It's not just like, oh, I could just throw somebody there and that's just going to work. It's just not the case.
How do you even describe the score? Is it just like a conglomeration of like 3 positions now?
For sure, you gotta understand floor spacing. Because the 4, in a sense, offensively, you just the odd man out. Like, you could be at the top of the key, you could be in the corner, you could be in the dunker, you could be on the wing. Like, you got to kind of find spacing, or else you end up on top of people. You know, if I'm a 3, I don't really know how to find spacing because I'm usually on the right side or the left side. And so, no, those are just different little nuances that if you don't understand them, then you just end up with 4 guys on the perimeter, and there's no structure to it. But if you got 4 guys on the perimeter, there's a spot for all 4 guys. But if you don't know that spacing, then it doesn't seem like there's a spot for all 4 guys. It just seems like 4 guys out, or you end up with 5 guys out. You know, and so it's you know, it's a little more nuanced for sure.
You guys ended the year well defensively last year with Trace next to you, and you even talked to him at the time about like kind of having that, you know, allows you to play center field, all this stuff. Does this team need more of like you at the 4 next to a center? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I'm really good next to a center. I mean, I'm decent at the center, but I think I'm really good next to a center. And so, you know, I think just having that option to go to that, I think is huge. And then also, I think, you know, if I am at the center, a guy like Slow-Mo who can do some same stuff that I can do, if not more, you know. So if he's at the 4, you know, then I can play the center role, because I know how to play the center spot, you know. But if I'm at the center spot, then the 4 will require someone that can kind of play that type of role that I can play, and he can for sure.
Speaking of center, what are your early impressions of Quinton?
I like him a lot. He can shoot the ball. He's super physical. He seeks contact on both sides of the floor, which is not always common in this league today. So I like Quinton. He's smart. He talks. He's one of the guys I'm more impressed with. And not just the start of camp, but like playing a couple times with him in the offseason, seeing him in Vegas. I'm impressed with him.
I know it's preseason, but Saturday's game is sold out. What kind of reception are you expecting from the Hawaii
Steph Curry's here. Of course it's sold out. I love the Hawaiians. Hawaiians are great. And I'd imagine there's a nice Warriors consortium out here in Hawaii. So I think it'll be great.
How you liking it so far out here?
Well, there's nothing to not like about Hawaii, that's for sure. So, it's been a great trip for us.
How ready do you think Brandon is for what is probably going to be a higher usage role, higher playmaking duties? All that?
I think he had a pretty big role last year. I'll warn him to be Brandon. You can fall into the trap of so many people saying, "Oh, Klay leaving, you got to be that, you got to do this." Like, no, be you. Like, you're gonna have a much better opportunity to succeed being yourself than trying to fill somebody else's role. Like, and I can speak to that. When I started, the last thing I wanted to do was try to be David Lee, because I knew I couldn't, number one. But number two, it's not my skill set. That's not how I'm going to best impact the game. And so I'll warn him that if you do great things on the court and there's something great that you do that. Because if you do it great, the team, the offense, the organization will adjust to you. Because it calls for an adjustment. But you go trying to be Klay or trying to be someone that you're not, it doesn't suit you that well. And so, that'll be, that's my message to him. It's just be BP. Everything that you do well, do that to the best of your ability. You get more minutes, you do more of that. So, and you'll be much better off than trying to be Klay. Klay has a very specific skill set that, if I'm honest, there's probably not one other guy in the NBA with that skill set that he has. So, be the best you that you can be. That usually works.
Steve yesterday said he wants to see Andrew shooting 6-7 threes a game. I think last week he also said he's kind of a candidate to be like that second scorer. Do you see that potential from Andrew? Sorry, what does he have to do to?
For sure, Wiggs is a 20-point a night scorer on his career, pretty much. He had a down year last year where he averaged 13 or something. But that's who he is, so. And asking him to be the second option, the second scorer, you're not asking him to be anything differently than he's been his entire career, pretty much. So he's more than capable of doing that.